Hi everyone! Today we'd like to talk to you about one of the oldest ecosystems on our planet, coral reefs. The earliest coral started growing more than 490 million years ago, over double the age of the earliest dinosaurs. Since this time, reefs have evolved alongside fish, and so modern reefs are a lot younger, with the Great Barrier Reef being only 500,000 years old. Coral reefs are incredibly extensive ecosystems, often described as the rainforests of the sea. They are the largest living structures on Earth and can even be seen from space. The Great Barrier Reef alone covers 48,000 square kilometres. These structures provide ecological niches for 25% of all marine species and over 800 reef-building coral species. These massive structures operate on a gigantic scale and can grow up to 3 millimeters a year, depositing 42,000 tonnes of limestone per kilometre per year. This means that the Great Barrier Reef is depositing over 2 billion tonnes of limestone every year. To put this into perspective, a large bull elephant weighs 6.3 tonnes. Coral reefs form one of three different types of structures, either a fringing reef, a barrier reef, or an atoll. Fringing reefs grow very close to the shore on mainland or high island coasts. They are generally shore attached but can be intertidal, meaning between the low tide and high tide marks, or near shore. Barrier reefs are separated from the shore by 1 to 10 kilometres of lagoon. Often, there are channels that run through the barrier, giving the marine ecosystem access to the lagoon and the landmass beyond it. The reefs in an atoll are ring-shaped, surrounding a lagoon which can be up to 10 kilometres across. These reefs often form around sunken central islands. The coral themselves are truly fascinating creatures. Often to people's surprise, coral are not plants or fungi, but are instead colonial animal species belonging to the phylum Cnidaria alongside jellyfish and anemone. Coral have several special adaptations. Firstly, they catch food with specialised nematocysts, or stingers, on their tentacles, which is then moved to their mouths to be mixed with proteins. It sits in a hard calcium carbonate skeleton that isn't alive but is in fact part of the reef itself. In the process of digesting food, it rises up slightly out of its skeleton and deposits more calcium carbonate into this space. This process grows the reef ever so slowly, millimetre by millimetre, developing over years into the complex structures seen today. Coral have evolved in incredible symbiosis with Zooxanthellae. These Zooxanthellae belong to a group of organisms called dinoflagellates, which are single-celled algae or plankton. They take in CO2 to photosynthesize and provide up to 90% of the coral's energy in the form of sugars, fats, and oxygen in return for protection and nutrients. There is still a huge amount of uncertainty surrounding the biology of coral reproduction. However, it is known that asexual budding can occur and that sexual reproduction takes the form of mass spawning events which are linked to the lunar cycle. Although it may not initially seem it, these corals are massively important to us as humans. 500 million people, more than the population of South America, rely on reefs for their food and livelihoods. Coral reefs bring in over $375 billion per year in ecosystem services and goods, with the Great Barrier Reef being worth over $5.1 billion Australian dollars a year in tourism alone. Coral reefs also function as important buffer zones between land and sea, and thus provide critical coastal protection, as well as providing essential waste processing services. Coral reefs may also harbour incredibly valuable novel medicines. Bioprospecting in coral reefs has led to the discovery of potential cures for cancer, HIV, cardiovascular diseases, and ulcers. Prevention of these diseases alone could lead to saving the lives of over 30 million people annually. However, these incredible ecosystems are facing a massive rate of loss, and it has been predicted that over the next 30 years we will lose 70% of the world's coral reefs. This is because of destructive fishing practices such as fishing with cyanide or dynamite, bottom trawling, and muro-ami, where blocks of cement are repeatedly and violently dropped from cranes which are fitted to boats, smashing coral into small fragments and causing totally destructive effects. It's also due to overfishing altering the delicate ecological balance of coral reef communities, pollution, coral mining and careless tourism, as well as construction, mining, logging and farming, leading to increased sediment in rivers which can smother coral. Climate change is having a massive effect. Global warming and ocean acidification are leading to corals ejecting their photosynthetic zooxanthellae and bleaching. This year, the Great Barrier Reef suffered its third mass bleaching event in 5 years, which led to the severe bleaching of 25% of the reefs. It's the first time bleaching has been observed along the whole length of the reef. If you're interested in what you can do to help the coral, there's lots of advice online in peer-reviewed journals, and I'd highly recommend you take the time to learn about what's happening in these marvellous rainforests of the sea and what you can do to help save our reefs. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.